Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Lauren Neidigh. We have an update this afternoon from the attorneys for Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and the attorney for Justin Baldoni giving some statements to People magazine. I want to kind of go over that with you guys and read between the lines a little bit because it's like they're making some big statements that actually mean nothing. So we'll go ahead and go over that. You're so early. What do you mean you're so early? Started right now. All right, let me pull this up real quick. Oops, that's not it. Oh, that's why. I already had it up. Okay, let me make sure my head's not in the way. Yeah, I have to move. Okay. I'll zoom in a little bit too. Okay, so we're not going to read this entire thing word for word. We're going to skim through some of it. Hi, I'm seeing some of you guys filter in here. Thank you very much for joining. Okay, so Blake Lively's attorney, Mike Gottlieb, confirms to People exclusively that the actress is planning to testify in her upcoming trial against Justin Baldoni. Now, that to me seemed extremely obvious. I don't feel like that should be a headline, but, you know, that is what people are talking about, I guess. In a statement to People, Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, hit back. The truth has been clearly shown through unedited receipts, documents, and real-life footage. More to come. Okay, so Blake Lively's preparing to speak out under oath. I mean, everybody will be speaking out under oath if they are testifying at that trial, so okay. So here's what Gottlieb said. The ultimate moment for a plaintiff's story to be told is at trial. We expect that to be the case here with Lively, so we would, of course, expect her to be a witness at her trial. Of course, she's going to testify. Like I said, this seems like kind of a no-brainer to me, but that's just me, man. Maybe some lawyers who have been analyzing this stuff have a different opinion. I don't know, but as a layperson, I would think if she wasn't testifying at her own trial, if I wasn't already extremely questionable of what she was saying, that would just be it for me. So, of course, she's going to testify. All right. Let's see. Lively's legal team claims she also won't be the only one stepping forward. Now, this is not new information. They've actually given a quote like this before. So I know some people were freaking out about that when I was looking at, like what people were saying on Twitter and Instagram and all that, which is, I'm trying to pay attention to multiple outlets at this point, but you guys know I'm not always good at keeping up with everybody on every platform. But I was seeing comments on the various platforms this afternoon freaking out about, the other people who will be stepping forward. That's why I want to read between the lines here, because first of all, we've already seen this. So this is not new information. This is not anything that's going to change my mind personally. I don't think that's going to be a surprise to anybody. And also, the stuff they said is kind of vague, and it doesn't necessarily mean what people thinks it means, but they're not technically lying with the words they're using. So let's put it this way. There are individuals that were witnesses to or experienced misconduct that is relevant to Miss Lively's claims, Gottlieb asserts. We expect their testimony, particularly about what took place on set, will come out through live witness testimony. In discovery, they'll have an opportunity to ask Miss Lively questions. Likewise, we will have the opportunity to take the depositions of the defendants. Beyond witness accounts, Lively's legal team insists their case will also rely on evidence. I don't know why that's in quotes there. In addition to live testimony, the legal team plans to present documents and statements from producers, Sony Pictures, and other eyewitnesses. Okay. So, when it says here, they were witnesses to or experienced misconduct that is relevant to Miss Lively's claims. So it means to me, I read that as during the time that this happened. So say that she was saying that Justin was like doing unscripted kissing or whatever, which is something that she's claimed in the past. Say that she's claiming that they were witnesses to or experienced that. So A, that could be her sister, very likely her sister, and B, witnessing the episode or the thing that she's describing. Like maybe they witnessed while they were filming a scene Justin kissing Blake, And then Blake, and especially in that dancing footage we saw, kind of she does seem like she kind of gets uncomfortable in certain situations. In my opinion, that seems to be doing a poor job of staying in character and acting. It doesn't seem like she was uncomfortable because she was being harassed or assaulted in any way. Okay, so they may have witnessed Justin and Blake kissing, or Justin kissing Blake, and maybe she even looked like she wasn't necessarily enjoying it, but like she was supposed to be doing her job as the actress in the scene. So maybe they'll have someone go up there and say, "Did you see Mr. Baldoni kiss Miss Lively at this point in time?" Which is like what she's alleging. And they would say yes. So they would then say, "Oh, look, this person was a witness to what happened. It happened the way we're saying it happened." But then, the other side could get up and say, like, are you aware that that was, scripted or unscripted, or were they acting like in character? Was the film rolling? That kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of details that go into that they could try to form it in one way. Like, this person witnessed this event, okay, but they're going to try to reframe the event to make it seem like it was nefarious when it really wasn't. That's what I'm getting from this quote right here. So hopefully that made sense, guys. I know it was kind of a word salad, but hey, whatever. Okay. Isn't she supposed to put... What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. Okay. Anyways, let's move through this a little bit more. Gottlieb argues that public conversation surrounding Lively and Baldoni's legal battle has strayed from the core of the case. We think there have been a lot of distractions put up to deflect attention from the retaliation campaign that was launched against her. And we expect and hope that in discovery, we'll have an opportunity to really focus on what we believe to be the core part of the case, which is that this retaliation campaign was launched against Miss Lively for her having raised concerns about sexual harassment. This is entirely based on opinion. So just because the lawyer says it doesn't mean it's not, opinion. It doesn't make it fact. So for example, a retaliation campaign launched against her for having raised concerns about sexual harassment. They're framing that through the lens of Blake Lively and her case, not necessarily what happened. You know how some people say, like, there's three versions of the truth. There's like one person's story, the other person's story, and then somewhere in the middle is the actual truth. I mean, a lot of that is probably going to end up being there, to where I don't believe there was any misconduct or anything like that. And I don't believe that she was ever retaliated against for raising concerns about sexual harassment. I think that, it wasn't like a retaliation campaign. It was like a defense type of thing, like to defend themselves, which is why it was interesting when they showed the messages that were left out of Blake Lively's complaint from the publicist, when they were kind of making it clear that the plan they had in place, even though Justin didn't necessarily like it or didn't feel great about it, they were only going to do that if they needed to defend his reputation and that kind of thing. So he said, she said, and the truth. Yeah. That's what I meant. My bad. Hey, Tiff, what's up? All right. Whether Reynolds, 48, will testify remains uncertain. He's currently named as a defendant in Baldoni's countersuit, but Lively's team is moving to dismiss those claims. Our belief is that they're frivolous, adding that if the claims were dropped, Reynolds may or may not be a fact witness. Okay. So again, I just want to point out, like, some of the words that are being used here. There's a lot to read into between the lines. So they're trying to frame all of this as if it's like in regards to this alleged retaliation campaign against Blake for reportedly raising concerns about sexual harassment, which she did not actually do, according to all publicly available evidence. But, and except for behind closed doors when she was working on an extortion plot, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So, they're framing it as if that's the whole case. They're completely ignoring the fact that some of what they're claiming is irrelevant here, or is frivolous, is actually related to the other side of this lawsuit, the other complaint from the other parties. So they're framing everything from the lens of Blake. So of course, everything is going to sound favorable to her. Just as, and to be honest, like, just as Justin's attorney's statements will be framed in a way that sounds favorable to him. That's what they're supposed to do. I just try not to take everything at complete face value when I'm reading quotes in these magazine articles, especially because I'm like, they're saying what they have to say and they're ignoring what they have to ignore. So there's a lot they're leaving out here, and there's a lot that they're kind of dancing around. That's just my perception of the situation. I mean, you guys might read it and think something different, and that's totally fine. You can let me know in the comments or whatever, but that is my initial perception when I'm reading these things. So why does she look orange in that pic? It could just be the lighting, dude. I have no idea. I've never seen that picture before, I don't think. Okay. Over the last few months, Baldoni's team has said they may subpoena major celebrities like Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman. And this is still Gottlieb talking, saying it's completely unclear what claims or defenses in the case any of these celebrities have any relevance to at all. And that's just what I was talking about, like have any relevance to it all. That what their relevance has a lot to do with what Justin is saying in his complaint. So it may not be relevant to their specific complaint or their amended complaints, whatever, like Blake's amended complaint, but it has a lot to do with Justin's amended complaint. So saying it doesn't have any relevance at all could be true through the lens of we are talking specifically about Blake Lively's complaints. But when you start to look at the whole picture and all the parties involved, all the complaints, then it does become a lot more relevant. Because these people, even if they weren't party to the alleged, defamation or smear campaign or whatever, they probably did witness some things because they were allegedly in the room at the time of some things happening. They do have some relevant information and can speak to that. So saying that that is not having any relevance at all is just not true, in my opinion. Like if they were where they are alleged to have been and they did witness the things that they witnessed, that is relevant. So, okay. Especially when it comes to things like, they're trying to imply that Blake, pressured Justin using her connections to Taylor Swift and larger celebrities. Then it does, in my opinion, become kind of relevant from a public opinion standpoint. Did Taylor Swift know that her name was being used to put that pressure on him? Or is that just something that she said in a text message without running that by Taylor Swift first? That kind of thing. So, all right. Plantation Party's sister. I'm going to say she's probably one of the witnesses. You know what I mean? But witness to what will be the question. It's not going to be like, did these people witness what they're alleging they witnessed? It's going to be like, what was the actual context? What was the actual meaning of the events that took place? Like, yes, you saw XYZ happening, but what did that actually mean? Like, what was actually happening? Like, you saw Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively dancing, and one side will try to frame it as they were doing this out of character, and the other side will try to frame it as, they were obviously rolling. One of those sides has actual unedited footage with audio to prove their points. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. And again, so he's saying unclear why they would have any relevance at all. This is a case about what happened to Blake Lively when she raised claims of sexual harassment on the set. It's not a case about how songs were chosen for the movie. It's not a case about fictional Marvel characters in Deadpool movies. And again, that could be true if you were talking about just one document in this entire lawsuit involving all of these people. So you have to ask the question then, why are these people being subpoenaed? You know the answer to that. So you're trying to plant this little seed in people's heads like, oh my God, yeah, why are they doing that? That's so stupid. No, you know exactly why. Do they have any actual relevance to the case at hand? You can't just go around subpoenaing people because they're famous and you think it will generate a bunch of headlines. And that's absolutely not what's happening, because it's been made very clear why those people would be subpoenaed, what they may have been, privy to, what they may have seen. So this is just kind of seeding doubt where it doesn't belong and trying to make things sound, again, nefarious or frivolous when it's not. So just because you don't like it, even if they don't end up having anything insanely, jaw-dropping to say, it doesn't mean they didn't witness things that are relevant to the events that are being described. So, and the federal courts don't tolerate that kind of behavior. Well, sure, if people were actually randomly subpoenaing people who had nothing to do with this just to generate headlines, fine. But they've made it quite clear, like, that they think these people were involved in certain situations that are mentioned in the complaint, and why those people might have this information that they need. It's very obvious. So I don't understand why make that like an outrageous like thing. Like, obviously, we can see if you just go back to the pages in the complaint where Taylor Swift, and I know they didn't use the name Taylor Swift, but we all know they were talking about Taylor Swift. So you can't just like be like, oh my god, I'm outraged. I have no idea where this is coming from. When obviously it was laid out for you, unless you like just didn't read the document, in which case you're a shitty lawyer. But you know, if you want to pretend that Blake's complaint is the only one in question, then sure, you could say all this stuff. Yeah, because they weren't mentioned in her complaint. So it's like they're not technically lying. They're not technically leaving stuff out, but they are. You know? All right. Here's what Brian Friedman had to say. Although obviously uncomfortable for the lively parties, the truth is not a distraction. The truth has been clearly shown through unedited receipts, documents, and real-life footage. More to come. Friedman says, Blake was the one who brought her high-profile friends into this situation without concern for their own personal or public backlash. And as a lot of people have said, it certainly seems like she didn't mean to take it this far or didn't think it would go this far. So that's probably why she didn't think about that, in my view. As the truth shows, she used her dragons. Oh, God. Not a dragon. All right. Used her dragons to manipulate Justin at every turn. Okay. So when we were talking about, which part was it here? Hang on. Hold on. No, I totally lost it, guys. What was it? It's like on the tip of my brain. Oh, that was it. Yes. Okay. So the February 3rd meeting where they were complaining about Brian Friedman litigating this in the press, basically. We have the transcripts for that entire hearing. And they were, Blake and Ryan's attorneys were upset because they wanted a gag order basically for the judge to say, like, you can't talk to the press, you can't do this. And the judge says no to the gag order, but kind of reminds Brian Friedman of the boundaries and like what he needs to do and what he needs to avoid doing. And so they like to say, when Brian says stuff like more to come, or it's been shown through evidence, and because he's previously said we're going to put all this out there, they like to say, Blake's attorneys like to say, well, he said he has all this evidence and he was going to put it out there, so where is it? And they know damn well that they went to the judge and wanted the judge to tell him to stop putting this stuff out there. So it's very disingenuous when they say stuff like that. And I just want to point that out, because when he says more to come, it's not going to come out the way that it was before. They're not going to leak it to the Daily Mail and like a full video to the Daily Mail. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean there's not more. It just means he's bound by certain things that he can and can't do. And they will use that in disingenuous ways, as they have in their previous statements to like TMZ, Daily Mail, whoever, where they're like, what, Brian Friedman says he has all this evidence, but now he's not showing it. But you know why he's not showing it. Because you asked the judge to make sure he knows he can't. All right. Friedman also alleged misconduct by Reynolds, claiming Ryan's involvement is very well documented and we continue to discover more intentional misconduct. Was Disney actually complicit in Ryan using shareholder revenues to further a personal grudge? I would be surprised to learn that this type of corporate waste would not lead to much more exposure for those that have been complicit in affecting shareholder revenue. So he has to be vague here, but he's saying this is kind of what's coming out in discovery. Obviously, I have no idea what that is, you know. So I have no idea what exactly he's referring to, but he is kind of laying it out that there is more, you know, evidence of intentional misconduct that they're seeing, and that they will, you know, bring that forward. As for concerns, the courtroom could turn into a media circus. Gottlieb is clear he doesn't want that to happen. We don't expect this case is going to turn into a circus of parading in every celebrity that might have ever had a conversation with Blake or Ryan, or in the same way about any famous person who might have had a conversation with Justin or Steve. Okay. That's about it as far as the quotes and all that go. And as far as the parading in a circus, like one or two other high-profile celebrities who are involved with the people who are, you know, parties to these complaints, that's not a circus. It's not a parade. It's just people being subpoenaed to talk about what exactly they witnessed, and to get more of an idea about who knows what and who was there and what actually went on behind closed doors, because they can ask them those questions. Oh, hey Omar, what's up? We need to get Lauren a Ryan Reynolds wig, dude. I don't know how that would look. I honestly no idea. Probably not great, but yeah. I'm willing to put it on. You can give it to me when I come to your mom's house. All right. And guys, if you don't know, Omar and I are doing a race for charity in a few weeks. I know how to swim really well, but I'm super out of shape, and he does not know how to swim very well, but he's in shape. So it's going to be an even matchup, I think. So yeah. All right. I got to get back to work because I still have a little bit on the clock after this. And I only have a few minutes left to break. So I'm going to see you guys later. I'm not sure if it'll be tonight or tomorrow, but I'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.